quite something to be back here on these streets a year later. All this was completely occupied. And as we look at the anniversary, there have been some attempts to have similar protests, but they've been much smaller. And it's brought up the question about what is the movement now? That's what we're here to find out. Michael, how are you?
Good, David. Good morning.
Criminologist Michael Kempa lived through the convoy protest and continues to study it closely.
Could something like that happen again?
Nothing on the scale of what we saw in February of 2022.
Kempa says it isn't just the lack of a single leader, but now a single cause.
So at the time, across Canada, you could estimate that there were probably about 2 million people who had significant sympathy for the anti-vax movement. You're now probably left with somewhere between 250 and 500,000 people who remain extraordinarily angry with government. They don't trust experts. They don't align with having so much science governing our policies. They would rather have families making up their own decision, and or they simply hate the Trudeau government.
They were always there, Kempa argues, but seized on the galvanizing issue of COVID restrictions and tried to attach their own issues to that anger.
You might think of it like a high degree of gold dust into the air. So financial capital, a huge amount of donations coming in. But you take away the main issue of COVID-19 mandates, organizers will move to the fore and they'll say, what issues can we use to try to scoop some of this gold dust in our direction? What would work to pull people back into the movement?
This is really about hate and love. And love, not necessarily love that is based on mutual understanding, but love because you hate the same enemy.
Researcher Merlina Lim tracks far-right and convoy's social media activity. She says there's been an uptick with the anniversary.
Is there a single cause that's unifying them now?
All of these groups still really are unified by the fact they want to get rid of Trudeau. Without anger, the sense of feeling injustice, this type of group cannot thrive.
Kempa adds that police are just far better prepared for a large protest, and the most recent ones have been much smaller, such as this one targeting the Prime Minister and his cabinet in Hamilton.
What's left of the protest movement? What is it now?
So
it seems a bit disorganized. Is that accurate?
It's extremely disorganized.
There never was a single unifying leader, and now internal division is spilling out in public. Convoy architect James Bowder wrote about personal character attacks made against me and others on Team Canada Unity as he canceled a planned repeat protest in Ottawa.
Freedom! Freedom!
Tamara Leach, revered by many, recently wrote that fellow leaders Brigitte Belton, Benjamin Dichter, and Chad Eros appear to be on a path to sabotage everything that our little group endeavored to accomplish. The splintering is readily apparent on social media, where the movement now meets primarily.
I'm going to continue to advocate against people that want to treat the Freedom Convoy as a way to prop themselves up. To talk about their Bitcoin ventures, to talk about their books, to talk about their projects. Like the Freedom Convoy owes them something.
They were locking us down more and more. The craziness was insane. And we're like, you know what? We need to make a stand.
The movement, splintered as it may be, is far from dead. More protests at the Coutts, Alberta border crossings showed hundreds will still come out.
I wish people would just wake up and see the government for who they really are.
And there are plans for a reunion of sorts on land outside Winnipeg rather than in front of Parliament. A group which proclaims universally to be true, proud Canadians, but debates which causes are theirs.
So, David, 1 year later, do we know of any plans by the members of the convoy to meet up again?
Well, certainly not in Ottawa, and we've just heard some of the reasons why. It's much more difficult to do that right now, although we are hearing that Wellington Street will reopen in the coming weeks. That, of course, is the street right in front of Parliament itself. As for this coming weekend, a long weekend in many provinces, we know that there are plans to hold some events. The largest looks set to occur just outside of Winnipeg. People expected to come in, certainly from that part of Manitoba and Northern Ontario, may come from further afield. Doesn't look like there are big plans in the way of bigger organizers to be there. What will come of it? We're going to have to see.
Thanks, David.